is guarding Bryant. Artest looking, gets it to Bryant. Bryant dribbling, has to put it up with the buzzer. Banks it in! He banks in the three! And the Lakers win the game!
What is up? What is up? I hope you are high and dry and warm on this beautiful Wednesday morning and ready to thrive in 2025. We are here for Winning on Wednesday, as we always are, 9 a.m. Central, live right here at Syndicate Headquarters in Austin, Texas, for your viewing and value pleasure. My name is Tony Merwin. I am your co-host. Sitting to my right is the Jolly Ginger Giant himself, the man of the hour, the Tower of Power, the master of disaster, Lean Joe Green, the money-making machine. Tell us what it's all about, Joe.
Let's go. Happy Winning on Wednesday, Insurance Syndicate. What's going on, everybody? Let us know in the comments that you can hear and see us. What's up, Todd? I see you on here. Thanks for commenting. See that our live views are already picking up. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. We've been running this show for almost 3 years now. We've only ever missed one Wednesday in those 3 years that we haven't been live here at 9 a.m. Central.
That was Christmas Day, wasn't it?
I can't even remember what that was like, but you and me were both like on a plane, so it was just like not going to be able to happen. But thank you, as always, again, for tuning in. Real quick, before we get going, y'all, we have an awesome guest that's joining us. He does join us outside of the insurance industry, but we're really excited just to get to hear some of his backstory and ultimately just some of his business acumen and how he runs multiple companies. And I think we're going to get a lot of value out of that. But before we get going, shout out to Viva Virtual Solutions, the main sponsor of the show. Shout out to Rob Lopez and Lily Davies for everything that y'all do here within the Insurance Syndicate. I actually have a real-time testimonial for y'all. So if you guys are looking for a virtual assistant, or maybe even looking for, maybe you have one and they're just not performing necessarily to the caliber that you're looking for, definitely check out Viva. But I wanted to read this. This is from one of our Clearview agents yesterday. Yo, we got an absolute stud as a new VA. And I go, oh, would you look at that, LOL? And he goes, dude, this guy's from their quoting team, sent him a home quote yesterday and an auto quote today and knocked them both out without any questions or any holdups. I'm pumped. Now I can feel like we can handle a lot more quotes. Yeah, it's badass. He jumped into the fire quickly with no complaints. I'm really happy with this guy. Now I just need the home and auto quotes to do, but I have zero stress going into the peak real estate sales time that we can handle all the quotes coming from the lending company and then Jess, his wife, staying on top of the trucking lead. So I had to give that real-time testimonial to Viva. Again, shout out to Rob Lopez and Lily Davies there at Viva VA. You guys do an amazing job. And also, I have another shout-out. Tony surprised us with this here in the office, and you guys actually just he kicked off our first Winning on Wednesday in the year of 2025. Mr. John Wetmore sent us his books here. Do More Now, Get Better Later, right? I'm super excited to read this. I actually was going to talk to you, Tony. Maybe this is something we start doing for our Monday meeting, just going through a chapter. But I love it, too, because, guys, John he hates us calling him this, but he's the $200 million man. He's got over 2,000 active writing agents every single freaking month on the life insurance side. And he still literally hand writes custom notes and signs these books when he sends them to you. Joe, my man, has been great getting to know you and watching you build your community. Happy to be part of the ride. Lily, if you can, drop that link in the comments, y'all. Definitely go check it out. It is live out there. I think he was number one in Amazon, super freaking quick. So definitely go check that out. Lily just dropped the link in the comments so that you guys can buy the book. I think it's $10, or you get a discount if you buy for the team. So before we bring on our guest, you guys know what time it is. It's Winning on Wednesday, right? start dropping them in the comments because we want to celebrate those weekly wins. Yeah, baby. Drop those weekly wins in the comments. I see all of our live viewers. I don't care how big or how small. We want to be able to celebrate you. Mr. Merwin, go ahead and kick us off. What is a weekly win for you, sir?
Dude, it's seeing agents execute training and have success with it, man.
Yeah.
My Tuesday show, right, that I've been doing this kicking off the new year has all been about cross-marketing, right? How to make the open enrollment period of Medicare a good success for you so that you can not only retain the clients that you put on during AEP, but add some more product to the mix, do some cross-marketing. Well, Grace took to that training really well, which doesn't surprise me because she is the machine that she is, and came in this week and wrote about $5K in final expense premium running that cross-marketing script. Pretty simply, made herself about $6,500 in first-year commissions. Butter. Let's go.
Butter. Hold on. That's a nice work, Grace. Come on now. I love that. And I love, if you guys, I think you dropped the file in the group, I think that you use for bundling and cross-selling as well. If you guys didn't check out Tony's Tuesday training, I think that's what, your 3-part series now. I think you're on the third week.
Yeah, something like that. And it's not necessarily that we created a series, but it's been a good topic to go through. Like we kicked it off. I had Hunter Gordy, vice president from United National Life, come on and talk about the importance of cross-marketing hospital indemnity, as well as some of their other portfolio. Last week, we went over the final expense script, and this week we went over the bundling script with that worksheet that you can use that'll help you point out all the gaps and then plug it with all your solutions.
Love it. Love it. That is in the files section of the group, y'all. If you want to go find that, he posted it in the group, but you can find it in the files if you can't find it on the thread. My weekly win. Honestly, it's probably yesterday, man. I got to bring, well, anybody in the office knew who was in the office with me yesterday, but I got to bring my 5-year-old in the office with me yesterday. Unfortunately, it's because my 3-year-old Nora is sick, and then she ended up spiking like 104-degree fever yesterday, and ended up having to take her to the pediatrician, and she's got the flu, and it just, I mean, it sucks. Anybody that has kids, it sucks to see them, especially at that young of age, like where they literally, like, she didn't want to move. She can't really even do anything, right? But my win was that I got to spend a lot of quality time with my daughter, Laura Grace, yesterday in the office. She even hopped on a couple calls with us, hanging out with the team in the office, and just, I don't know, just having like a 5-year-old with like just zero complaints, right? I mean, there's snow on the ground. She could be outside or this, and she'd rather be in the office with Dada, right? And then we went and had lunch and had it was just a great day yesterday, and just getting to spend. It's cool to see, like, sometimes you have to choose one or the other, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to be out of the office and like spend time with my kids, which I've done, right? Or it's, dude, I get to bring my kids into the office, which shout out to my office mates, right? People that are cool with having my 5-year-old here in the office and talking with them. And that was definitely my weekly win. It was good to have her in. So
I was confused because when you said you brought your 5-year-old into the office, I was like, but wait, Todd shows up every day.
Oh, Todd, I hope you are watching this live. I think you are. Guys, drop those wins in the comments. We want to be able to celebrate you, even if you're catching the replay. Go ahead and drop them in the comments, and we will circle back and celebrate y'all. Well, y'all, let's go ahead and get into it. We've got an awesome guest here that we're getting ready to bring on. TJ, you guys can see in the description of the show, TJ is definitely outside of the insurance industry, but is doing a lot of cool things here in the Central Texas area, and is somebody who I recently got to connect with and meet with. It's wild, right? You just got to get in the room, and then you meet this person, and then you meet this person, and it turns out this person's best friends with this person that I already freaking know, and then it's a big freaking small world that we live in. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and bring on, give us a nice warm welcome to Mr. TJ Donnell. What's up, brother?
Hey, good morning, boys. How are y'all?
Doing fantastic, man. It is good to see you. How you doing this afternoon? This morning, sorry. I'm way ahead already.
Yeah, right. It's like I'm already pushing into the ether out there to get through this day. But no, doing great. It's great to be seen. I appreciate coming on, and looking forward to chatting with you guys and bring some content, bringing some help to your viewers out there, and trying to just give them a leg up and let them know that, yeah, it's hard every day. And having something like Winning on Wednesday, having somebody who's accountable for you in your life and you being accountable is it will make the difference in success in your life for sure.
Absolutely, man. We'll take a moment, if you don't mind, right? You're new to the insurance syndicate in our group. They don't know who the hell you are. Just take a moment, kind of introduce yourself, let them know who you are and kind of what you're about.
Yeah, my name is TJ Donnell. I am a resident of Cedar Park, Texas. I grew up in Austin, Texas. I spent some time in Southeast Texas, down in the Beaumont area for probably about 15 or so years. I've been back in Austin since 04, 05. And then Yeah, I'm here now. I currently, as my main profession, I'm a state licensed real estate appraiser. I've been doing that since '07, but I've been licensed since 17. I'm a appointed official for the City of Cedar Park's Planning and Zoning Commission. So someone who sits on the city council. They appoint members to represent them on planning and zoning, to review all planning and zoning cases for the city. Just as another layer of kind of, I wouldn't say oversight, but we just like to get a few more eyes on things. My real estate background really does kind of help me help satisfy some of those requirements and needs I think that are important for civic duty.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a kind of just a part-time sales agent for Blue Jack Roofing, who two very good friends of mine own and operate. And I was just kind of looking to find something else to do. I like to stay busy. And that brings me to my latest venture, which me and two very, very close friends of mine have launched a dumpster roll-off business here in the city of Cedar, in the Central Texas area. And so dumpster roll-offs are really, really large operations. We bought 55 bins and two very large Mack granite trucks. And we've launched this business at the beginning of the year. And so far, 3 weeks in, we're pretty much rocked and rolling. We've hit our first month quota for what we want to do to show that we can do this and be successful. So stay busy.
Pardon my ignorance. What the hell is dumpster roll-off?
So, you go by like a construction site and there's one of those just big metal boxes sitting out there with some logo or something painted on it. That's essentially what we do. They're called roll-offs because they have these metal wheels on one end of them, and that allows a large truck to raise up, lower them, pick them up, and roll them back on. So we roll them on and roll them off the trucks to your site, and that gives us the maneuverability to get in where you need it to go. Some people may be as easy as, put it by the barn over there, but if you're doing a home remodel and you need a dumpster, and it needs to be in your driveway or in a specific point, a roll-off is probably the way to go.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny you brought up Beaumont. Kobe, you on here at all, bro? Or Johnny, you're never, well, not Johnny Nitafan. I see you on here, Johnny Deshawn. But Kobe is actually an agent in Beaumont. And I believe his cousin is, Johnny. They're both insurance agents in Beaumont, and Kobe actually won $100 on one of our giveaways last week. So if you're on here, Kobe, you have somebody that knows where Beaumont is.
Absolutely. I actually went to high school at Hampshire, Fannett, Texas, which is two small towns that are 5 miles apart that they had to put together with a couple other small communities just to make little old 3A high school. So I went from like mega 6A Westwood High School to 3A, 140 people in my graduating class. So it was exactly what I needed. It was a rough area back here in the 78750 back in the day.
What's a weekly win for you real quick before we kind of get into some of your story and just everything you've got going on?
Well, I mean, we're kind of just winning all the time around here. I mean, when you wear this many hats, you can't, if you're sitting around thinking about things, baby. If you're sitting out about things that you can't win or aren't winning, then you're definitely not winning and you're not figuring out. So you got to take every little thing you get and you got to really, really maximize it. I don't technically think about like celebrate a win. I don't like that. Doesn't how my mind works particularly. So I do love the idea of actually celebrating that, of having one every week. So I will say, I think without a doubt, we had secured a pretty good large contract for dumpster company up in the Liberty Hill area who, immediately needed 3 dumpsters and are going to need them cycled out every week. So, that alone, we were already rolling. But that right there from just bringing on a new client that kind of came out of nowhere that's a huge win. Huge win.
Yeah. Well, I guess take us back, man, because I mean you're a newer friend of mine too, TJ. So and I know that we've definitely got to connect and hang out, but I don't know a lot of your backstory, so I'm actually kind of curious too. Like before you got into appraising and everything like that, and you said, okay, I was here in Central Texas, was down kind of in that Beaumont area, and then now back. Dude, what was even like your child? Actually, this is one of my first. I haven't asked this question in quite a while.
No, you haven't.
What's like kind of like your childhood like? But ultimately, like, what was your first job? You remember what your first job was?
Yeah. It's actually a really good one because I come from a divorced family. I have 3 sisters, 2 older sisters, and a younger sister, but no brothers. So I've always called everyone brother. Because to me, everyone is my brother. I don't actually have a brother. So everyone is my brother. And I just always, I use that term a lot and I use it with intent, I think. And, So my father was in the railroad business, and he moved down to Beaumont to work at the Port of Beaumont when we evaded Kuwait and Iraq, and originally because Desert Storm. So he was down there working on the rail yard. He was the superintendent of a Econo Rail, which ran all the rail operations there in the Port of Beaumont. My mother was in the mortgage industry here in Austin, and both my older sisters were pretty much gone. And like I said, it was a struggle here in Austin in Westwood. This is before Dell and before Apple, and it wasn't Westwood. It was called Wastewood. It was an open campus, crime, drug ridden. Like it was not a healthy atmosphere. And I understood that at a pretty young age, that I only kept getting in more trouble, even though I really didn't really want to get in trouble. Like I wasn't by nature a bad kid or a bad person, but I just kept finding it. I couldn't do anything to stay out of it. I just kept doing dumb stuff. And I just decided that I was going to leave and go and live with my father. So when I moved in with my father, it was good. My dad said, he was very plain and simple, and he was a very direct person. And he would say, if you make A's and B's and you play sports, you don't have to have a job. And that sounded great to me. Like I was like, great. I don't have to go get a job in high school and pay for these things, do this stuff. I can play sports, which I'm an absolute sports fanatic. I played football, baseball, and basketball all 4 years through high school. Really loved it. I would have never been able to do that at Westwood. I mean, I would have played baseball and probably been a backup football player. But I mean, I used basketball in high school to run off my football weight to get ready to get in shape for baseball. Baseball was my main sport. I'm a seam head by nature. But one year, my sophomore year, I had made varsity baseball, and I was going to get a letter jacket as a sophomore. I was very excited about it, and I failed geometry the second to last semester of the season, and it was the postulates and theorems. I could not get them squared. I couldn't get them straight, and I failed the class. It cost me a varsity letter, and I had to go get a job. I was my second oldest sister was a waitress at a Chinese restaurant in Port Arthur called the Mandarin, who were ran by a very famous restaurateur couple in Southeast Texas, famous Brian and Mary Lee. And she was like, I can get you a job bussing tables. And I was like, I don't even know what that is. What is that? She goes, just come to work. And so I did. She and I would drive to work, and I would bus tables at a Chinese food restaurant in Port Arthur, Texas for, I think I did it for 5 or 6 weeks until I was passing and could go again. And
did that fuel you? Like, dude, I'm doing all of my homework and I am passing all of it. Shit, dude. Yeah.
Well, I had never failed. I had never failed a class ever. Like I made good grades. School wasn't very difficult for me. And it was just, I don't know what happened. Like I could not figure out postulates and theorems, and it cost me a letter. And ultimately that was the worst thing. That was the hardest thing for me to deal with, was not being able to play ball.
So, well, okay. So you just said, I'm trying to figure out how I want to frame this question. Really, I mean, to keep it super simple, how the hell did you get into freaking like property appraising and roofing and dumpster roll-off services when your dad was railroad and your mom was in the mortgage side of things? Those are two polar opposite of exposures, right? And what you were exposed, like for me, everybody makes, because I am the kid in second grade that wanted to be an insurance agent because my dad was in insurance and my mom was in interior design and everybody, but she was more of a stay-at-home mom. And so I was like, okay, yep, I want to be in insurance, right? But then it's like, okay, railroad type stuff right on the coast or mortgages here in Central Texas. I'm going to go here. What caused all that? Like, what was the mindset behind that?
Well, as someone who is more in the, real estate aspect things of now, obviously being a state licensed real estate appraiser, my mom, growing up with my mom, I did not want to be in the mortgage business at all. I mean, I saw the ebbs and flows. The 86 crash really affected our family financially and caused us to move around a little bit more than what we were used to and wanted to. There's just been so much ebb and flow, and it's a week. I mean, you're living paycheck to paycheck for the most part until you can get your pipeline built, which obviously you guys in insurance know a ton about that. So those worlds aren't that different. You're just providing a different service, but you're still, for the most part, a commissioned employee, and you're on that phone and you're got to close deals one way or another. So those things worked in tandem. That was not technically what I wanted to do. Now, necessity being the mother of all invention, my father was a railroad man, and I didn't want to do that. Like that, I was pretty sure I was good. I enjoyed doing it. I loved trains. I loved going out with my dad. we had all types of things that we did as father and son, or that's when it was around the railroad and around cars and riding trains, riding tracks, had a dune buggy that would go on railroad tracks. So we had all these really cool little toys that were fun. But my dad was a very creative person in terms of he has an entrepreneurial mind and spirit, but not a lot of action on any of those fronts. But he was, a welder, and we built barbecue pits in high school, and he was the welder and I was the grinder, and we would do that to make some side money and help me pay for a car. And so I guess that would have probably technically been my first job, was being the grinder for my dad. But I mean, he rebuilt engines on jet boats, and we owned multiple jet boats, and he would sell those and buy some other junker, and we'd fix it up and sell it. And so we did a lot, and he was always very busy. And you let off this podcast by promoting a book, and it's do more, get better later. And I mean, that couldn't resonate any more truer with me personally. Mm-hmm. Like, I like to stay busy when an idle mind is the devil's workshop, and that is a very true thing. And if you are keeping yourself busy, if you're finding yourself getting in trouble or getting down or getting in a bad spot or not being able to handle your mental health, find something else to do. Like, that is the thing that has saved and helped me more than anything. And I'm a father, I'm a husband,
right.
I'm a brother. I got 3 kids, 2 dogs, and a wife. I should be busy, but wanting to do more is also, I think, a calling that you have as you get older and mature. I wasn't like this at 25. I can tell you that much. But I also didn't have stuff like this. I didn't have accountability groups and support people and confidence that I have now at 47.
And responsibility.
Yeah.
You didn't have the responsibilities that you have now, right? You have people that you have to look after, that you kind of have to take care of. So I feel like in some cases that does kind of put our backs against the wall to some level. Like, once we know, like, oh, if I don't do X, they don't get Z, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think a lot of people react differently to that, whether it be stress, pressure, expectations, accountability. You stick a lot of words on it, but some people they have kids. You have a wife, or you have a partner, and you get married, and all of a sudden you're walking around a house, and all these people looking at you. What are you doing? Where are you going? What's up with this? What's that? We need to pay this bill. You need to cut the lawn. And that becomes. We weren't always like that as kids. We were just kids. It was like, hey, just go have a good time and live life. And it's like, oh, crap, I got to grow up, right? People look at me. People expect me to do these things. So you can look at it in multiple ways, right? It's glass half full, glass half empty. Is this a challenge to you that you're going to rise to, that you're going to accept and do your responsibility and abide by your vows and be the person you thought you were going to be when you first saw your child born, right? Like, are all those things that happen to you as a human when you see that coming to the world, or not? Or are you going to flee? Are you going to back away? Are you going to shut down? And we all have that flight response. It's human nature. It's built into us. It really is about, what do you do with it? How do you combat it? How do you handle it? And how do you ultimately accept it, right? Being trapped is one way to look at it, but it's also very free. It's also very freeing to see what happens at the end of that tunnel when you come out of it. In fact, you did it. You helped make all of this. You made all these people's lives better, and it doesn't end with just one project or just this. There's more to do. Like, you can always do more and always do better.
100%.
Did you kind of get that busy, right? I like to be busy. I like to have things to do. Did you kind of get that from your father? Did he kind of instill that in you? Or do you feel like that's maybe more of an internal desire to seek purpose?
It's an internal desire to seek purpose for me. My father wasn't a heavy-handed man. He wasn't mean or cross, or my father, for better or worse, was ultimately someone who just said, hey, this is what life is like. You can succeed or that you can fail. I'm going to love you no matter what. You're my son. And that was the way that he put things. There wasn't ever like a mentorship or a tutoring type of thing. Like, hey, son, this is how we do this. Let's go and do this. It was like, if you want to learn, come watch me do it, and we'll do it. If I screwed up, he didn't, rip my butt. He didn't get upset with me. He would just laugh and, all right, well, don't do that. Damn it, boy. Like, just the old dad thing. Right. it's interesting because I'm not exactly like that. I'm much more, I don't know if even intense is the right word. I'm by nature a very competitive person. So, and I'm a fixer as a male, right? If something happens, there's a problem, I want to fix it. I'm going to take care of it. Like, I'm going to do it. And why did you do this? You got to look at these things, and life is about details, and details are things that if you want to be successful, if you want to be good at what you do, ultimately, I mean, success will come. If you are good at what you do, you will be successful. It's the details.
Mm-hmm.
It is the time that you mentally put into doing your craft that is going to make or break your business, your relationship with your partner and wife, your husband, your children, and everything in between it. You have got to pay attention to the details.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I love it. One, TJ, you've got some badass one-liners, bro. I'm just like, dude, the idle mind is the devil's playground. I'm like, shit, that is freaking fire, man. But it's so true. But, you know, I want to go back because you said the word busy, right? I think there's two ways to freaking look at that. I've seen a lot of busy people, but they ain't actually busy, right? Or like, what? I can't remember what's the actual.
Productive.
Yeah, not exactly. They're busy, but they're not actually doing anything, right?
Place.
How often do you see that though? Like even again with the people that you work with, or now you're working with the city, right, in Cedar Park and in like government officials and stuff like that. Like, oh yeah, they're real busy, and it's like, are they really busy though? Like, what's your thoughts on that, or the mindset you think people have behind that?
Well, to quote the Ghetto Boys, there's a lot of people talking loud but saying nothing, and that has been a constant since that rap lyric hit my ears probably in the, I guess, geez, I'd have been the mid to late 80s to date myself. But, you know, back when rap was actually a real movement, you know, and it was the prose of rap was very enticing. It was very smart, and it was opened a world that most of us didn't know existed. And that's what really launched rap. But that's probably a time for another podcast that we can get into one day. But no, you do see that. And I think we all have good intentions if you get into like a workplace and a workplace environment, and especially if you're the new person there and you're going through the workplace and you're, you know, doing your stuff and you're at the water cooler, and you know, these are things that are happening. And then as you get into the feel and the move of things, you start to take notice of people who are always up or going, and they're always walking a little faster than they should. But then they always have a problem, right? Or there's something they're encountering every day. Like there's an innate drama built into their actions, right? And it's a glass half full, glass half empty. Are you know, like if you shoot, or if you know, I have some friends in the military, and I really enjoy talking about their training and how they do things. And something that they say all the time that I use in everything, whether I'm helping my kids clean their rooms, or I'm doing the dishes with my wife, or I'm playing golf, like, and it's fast is smooth, smooth is fast. Like that's it. Like you don't have to move fast to be fast. And if you move fast, sometimes you'll trip and fall down on the street and get run over by the car. Whereas if you just pick up your pace a little bit, you're going to cross safe and sound, and everything's going to be fine. So there's a lot of little, again, these are details that people overlook or they don't think about. And, you know, you just having someone who helps you with this stuff, this accountability stuff, really does help you clear those things out in your mind.
Cody Askins, you guys have all seen him on our show before. TJ, who knows? Maybe one of these days you'll meet him when he comes to see us in Austin.
Come on.
Slight little hint there, Cody. If you're watching this, come see us in Austin. We'd love to have you back. But he always talks about, you know, you're bringing up details, right? Pay attention to the details. But one of Cody's favorite thing is also don't let the details delay. It's some people get so fixated into those details. Oh, it's got to be this. It's got to be this. But before they ever actually even start something, right? And that's kind of the whole premise behind John's book is do more now, get better later, right? You're like, know the deep. And again, I think the details too, you could take it a little bit further too, right? Like there's detail, but then it's like knowing your numbers and knowing those details of your pipeline, right? Or the details behind how to actually close a sale, depending on the line of business that you're in. But again, don't be so hyper focused on them that like you don't ever actually pull the trigger, right? Like you're sitting there aiming for freaking ever. And then next thing you know, there's, 10 Joes and Tonys that come through and pull the trigger, and they're don't get me wrong, they're not doing it as good as you, right? Or maybe better than you, but they're, because of the repetition and the work they're putting in, they're already this much further ahead of you by the time you actually pull the trigger, right? I want to ask you this, because we were just talking about it, and I think this definitely can apply to insurance agents. And just, again, it's even on the appraiser side of things, you're still dealing with a consumer, right? You're still dealing with an individual or a company. And guess what? Complaints can come with that, right? Unhappy customers can come with that. So walk us through just a day in the life of TJ when he's on the real estate appraising side of things, right? Or maybe even a week in the life, and just talk through maybe, again, what even, I'm just curious, actually, kind of just like what all you do and what all is entailed in that. And then ultimately how you just deal with clients, right? And customer facing type stuff, and how you can overcome, those objections, those, again, complaints, right? Or the unhappy client. Talk through some of that and what that looks like in your day to day.
Yeah, well, first thing I do is I get up every morning and I piss excellence. That's just what it is.
Yes.
but I mean, that's about as exciting as it gets as an appraiser. I mean, really, it's that's all there is. That's it. No, I mean, we're like any company, or I'm like any business structure that has a heavy hand of the government behind it, which is, I have regulations and I have rules and I have things that I have to write and things I have to say in every single report, the CMA stuff, right? To cover the CMA, you got to have it in all your reports, all your verbiage, all your stuff. But I mean, in terms of running the actual physical business, right? Like you've got your jobs, you've got your logs. So I work for banks. When you're going to refinance your house or you're going to buy a house, a bank has to give you a loan to do that. For the most part, some people pay cash. And even if you pay cash, you may want an appraisal anyway to make sure you're not getting ripped off or
right.
Overpaying for your property. And it's not uncommon for that to happen. So I work as an independent fee appraiser. I can work for you independently. You can hire me to help fight your taxes. You can hire me to measure your house. You can hire for a pre-listing. You can hire me to appraise it before it's listed to make sure you have it priced right. Or I can do the appraisal when you get a federally backed loan from a local lending institution or a broker. So that kind of encompasses everything that I do. So my relationship with my client is quite different now that there is so much bureaucracy involved in the mortgage business as they try to protect, another market crash like there was in 08, which had almost nothing to do with normal every average day people. You had a very particular kind of person who was creating mortgage fraud, and then a very particular kind of mortgage loan officer who was capitalizing on that. And that's what happened. And it steamrolled, got out of control, and no one stopped it until it was too late. So to avert doing that again, they do what the government always does. They add tons of oversight and a middleman and more regulations, and all these things come with more and more fees, but your fees don't get to go up to match the new fees that you have. So your profit margins shrink, and it just kind of is in this weird state right now. The business is with, obviously AI is going to be an issue. They're already building large language models. Collateral underwriting is a massive deal where they compare public data to your report and then ask you why yours is different than public data. And it's like, because I'm a real human being and I was physically there at the property and I have all these photos and I shook the hand of the homeowner. It's like, you're looking at ones and zeros, bro. Like, this is a different, we're talking about different things, but it's just the game we all play. I know y'all have it in the insurance world. As well.
You see Tony over here going like this. He's like, is this guy talking about Medicare?
It's
heavily regulated.
The United States government is the largest employer in the world.
Yeah.
And the last thing we need is it to become larger. Like they've done nothing but proven they actually can't do a good job of handling their employees or actually serving us with a good solid product. So there's just no reason to make them that much larger all the time. But again, that's probably a discussion for another podcast. So
absolutely.
Yeah, no, running my business just day to day. That's it. Boom. You get a job, you get a client. My client most of the time is an actual bank that I cannot communicate with for the most part. I have to go through a middleman, and they're called an AMC, an appraisal management company. They have a client, and that's the lender. My client is the AMC.
Got it.
The appraisal management company. If I have an issue or I have a concern or I have a request, I have to log into my portal and ask a middleman to go to the client and then they come back to me. And so it's this chain of inefficient communication. And guess what? The appraisal management company charges us a fee. That's shocking. To manage us, we're charged a fee now, and which, by the way, just gets passed on to you, the buyer and the borrower. That's just more money. You're now paying $700 or $800 for an appraisal that I'm doing for $400. So where is that? Why did your cost double and the appraiser fees went down? Like, why? What's going on? That's bureaucracy, right? That's theft at its finest, right? It's an oversight. So we deal with a lot of that stuff. But in the appraisal business, it's great because I get to go to a house, right? I measure the house. We have standards we have to do for that. But I get to go in. I get to meet some wonderful people. I get to see some really, really cool houses, some awesome backyards, beautiful views, very unique construction aspects. And then our appraisal business is literally just that. It's the sticks and the stones of your house. So I don't care how you decorated your house, that your dishes aren't done, that your bed isn't made. None of that matters. That's all your personal property. I'm looking at how well is your house built? Do you have holes in the walls? Is the flooring cracked? Is there water damage? Does it need to be repainted outside because of deferred maintenance? Those are the things that we really look at in terms of, we create value for your home from the ground up. How much is the land worth? How much does it cost to build the house? What are all these things that you've done to your house? What is the market's reaction to those improvements, essentially? So it is as boring as it sounds, but I don't spend all day stuck in an office. I do get to go and see some really cool stuff. And then I get to come back into my office and work, and I'm home by noon, and I get to be with my kids, which you guys have talked about is a really cool thing to have access to doing that. And that really does bring me to what kind of your original question was, how did I get in? Like, how did I get to that from what my parents' background was? And I think ultimately it was my wife a lot. She was a loan processor. So I kind of married back into the mortgage.
To the mortgage. Yep.
I could never get away from it, apparently. Yeah. And we had talked about doing some things. When we met, I was actually a news producer for a CBS affiliate in Beaumont. And I did that for 10 years. I had multiple roles. I started out, as a cameraman and became the floor director, and then did audio in the production booth, and then got into the newsroom, and then I did a music show. Like I wanted to do sports. So I did Friday football in Southeast Texas, did live remotes for those guys. And, that's what I wanted to be, was a sportscaster. I mean, I did. And then I realized, wait a minute, I'm going to bounce around from small market to small market for the next 10 to 15 years to end up in Bristol, Connecticut. Like, what do you do? Like, you're from Texas, man. You're never going to go to Bristol, Connecticut and live and be happy there. Like, you need to really think this through. Details, TJ, details.
Yeah.
So we moved. We had hurricane came, tore our stuff apart in Beaumont, and we had just moved to Austin, and just said, we were dating, we were living together, our apartment was destroyed. I told her, I said, look, I'm looking for a job in Austin anyway. Do you want to move to Austin with me? And she was like, yeah. Like, she didn't bat an eye. I don't know if she thought about it for 2 seconds, and here we are. It's been 20 years. We went on our first date 20 years ago this past December, and we've been married since 14, 15, and
congratulations. So how long has the appraising company been going? You said you were licensed. What was it? 2017, you said?
Yeah, I became licensed and started my own company in 2017. I worked as an appraisal trainee, which you have to do. I started that in 2007. And the boss that worked for, Chris, was, it's funny. I've thought about him a lot more lately. We don't have a lot of contact anymore because we don't work together. And he's a very busy guy and a very successful guy. He brought me on into his commercial business because he didn't have any residential business. And the reason he hired me is because I just told him, I said, look, I can get you business. If you could bring me in and teach me how to do this, I will grow your business. I will get out there and I will walk into mortgage companies and I will shake every tree and everybody that I know in this business, I'll get them to use us. And if you'll just teach me how to do this, for the love of God. And I had no clue what I was doing. I mean, it was the ultimate fake it till you make it type of situation. Mm-hmm. But I got up every day and I went to work every day and I got my butt chewed out every day. And I started asking myself, before I started doing this work or getting into this adjustment or doing this, what is Chris going to ask me to do? What is he going to tear me up about? And I don't want that to happen. So I got mad enough about it. And I want everybody to listen. This is very important. I got mad enough about it that I didn't quit. but I didn't want it to happen anymore. I didn't want to suck at my job.
Right.
And so I had to do something about it. No one was coming to rescue me. I could tell my wife about it every night and come home and piss and moan to her about it every single night if I wanted to. And then what kind of relationship would we have? How excited would she be to hear me talk about how much I suck at my job every day, right? Or blame it on someone else. Okay. No one wants that, right? Like, pay attention to your relationships and what you're talking about and the ideas and thoughts you're bringing to those people around you, because it makes a difference of how receptive they are to you, right? Are you just bumping your gums and talking loud and saying nothing? Or are you really working on stuff, right? Are you putting in that work that, hey, this sucks. Maybe I got screwed over, but hey, I did this wrong, or I could have shielded this off, or next time this happens, I'm going to make this adjustment and I'm going to get better and I'm going to do this. This is on me, right? This isn't nobody's fault.
Bingo.
Yeah.
It's on you. It's on you. And I think that's where I think the general public kind of lack, right? It's the self accountability, right? Or it's even, we talk a lot about it, like having your tribe around you, right? It's this house of dreams that I do, and that actually we should do that together. That'd be fun, TJ, to take through that framework. But it's like the people who are around you, and it's like, if Tony's part of my tribe, and if Tony comes and checks me, I've got to be willing to receive that because he's in my tribe, right? And that's the accountability piece of, okay, look, like if he says something, or if Hanky says something, or if they say something, they're saying it out of the best interest of me. Otherwise, they wouldn't be saying it, right? But I think, again, just the general public, whatever you want to call it, they suffer, or they don't like hearing that, right? I mean, but to your point, I just wrote it down, is like, get so pissed that you make a change, man.
Yeah.
And I think so many people get so pissed at everything outside, right? Again, whether it's the environment, whether it's a person, whether it's a CRM or a system that's, or the internet, whatever. It's like, dude, you can still do shit if the internet's down, y'all. Like, I mean, it's like, I don't like people like, all right, man.
This is a piece of paper.
It's like,
this is a pen. Yeah. They work without internet.
It's like, dude, internet's down. I'm going home. Like, dude, there's so much other shit we can do. Like, you don't need the internet to do everything. But I do love that you said that. Like, get so pissed that you actually make a change. And I think me and Tony both can probably, really relate to that. Where there was times in insurance, right? As I'm grinding, making pennies on the dollar, I didn't even know you could really make money in insurance, but it was my job, right? And it just got to the point of where I was kind of at a crossroads. I was like, you know what, dude, I'm kind of sick and tired of this. I was definitely I think I was probably complaining more than I was celebrating or like growing, and because of this, right? And it was like, man, I was getting ready to go corporate. TJ, you know me well enough. Dude, thank the freaking Lord I did not go corporate. I don't even know where I'd be right now if I went corporate Allstate, where I'm an agency process specialist. And I go to scratch agencies and help them start their captive insurance, property, and casualty agency, right? And it's like, and I'm over here wearing ball caps and jerseys. But it was like, man, I got pissed off enough to make a change, right? And that change was ultimately a change of scenery entirely from that entire agency. That's actually, man, that's a whole nother conversation too, right? Is like, maybe it's just where you're at. Maybe it's not the line of business. Maybe it's not the industry. Maybe it's not whatever you're selling. Maybe it's just like the environment and the culture that you're tapped into. Like how
I'm
important
not a well-read guy, but like I do have a ton of one-liners and a lot of things. I've always been a guy who loves a good quote. Like give me a good quote. I'm not going to use it or remember it all the time, but there's going to be a time where I'm going to need it. And the one that I'm just thinking about that you said was, and this comes from a book, or it comes from really someone famous, but I don't know who to attribute it to. But it is, luck is just when hard work meets preparation.
Mm-hmm.
That's what luck is. Yep. Like if you are in the right spot at the right time, no, it just so happened to fall to fall in my lap. But that's what successful people's way of talking themselves down, right? Because they are successful, they have what they need. They don't need you to pump them or gaslight them. They're totally happy with who they are because they worked hard. Like people see this podcast, they're like, oh great, Joe and Tony and TJ are going to do this podcast for an hour and then hang out the rest of the day and watch movies or Netflix or whatever. Yeah, no, I'm going to work. Like I got work to do all day today. I got 3 jobs. I got kids coming home now in less than 6 hours. Like stuff has to be done today. I got to eat lunch at some point in there, right? Like wolf down a protein bar at some point, right? So people mistake that and they just think, oh, you're successful. Oh, you're rich, or you did this, or you have that, or you drive this car. They don't see the hard work. They're not there for that. So when you see someone driving a nice car or wearing a nice suit or going on a nice vacation, you should also realize that the work that they don't post their hard work. You don't see the hours on the phone call or the notes they take. You don't see that, right? But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist, and it certainly doesn't mean that you shouldn't respect that and respect those people for getting there.
Right.
And approach them. Hey, man, how's it going? I love your truck. That's great. What do you do? Who are you? How did you get to this point in your life? Be a curious person, right? Want to learn. You should have this innate ability to not be envious to the point where it makes you not like them or yourself. It should be envious to be, hey, that's a human being who got up today and put his pants on one leg at a time. One leg at a time. What did he do?
Right.
Go talk to that guy.
And that's all right. Here's a one-liner. This is off the top of my dome. Now people can quote me. Instead of jealousy and judgment, why don't you join them? Right. It's like, because again, it's judgment and it's jealousy. Well, this John was just talking about it again. John Wetmore, Do More Now, Get Better Later. Lily, if you can drop that link in the comments, definitely go check out that book, y'all. But he was talking about how, when he first was starting in life insurance and holidays, right? And if you haven't heard John's story, I mean, I'll have to send it to you, TJ.
Please do.
It, man. I mean, the guy literally food stamps from the projects, raised in the to where now, again, he hates it when I say it, but I mean, they do over 200 million a year in freaking sales. Like it's
coupons to cash.
It's wild. But he was talking about how, it goes back to get pissed off enough to make a change. Get pissed off that you're not driving that truck, right, or that car. And he was like, man, it's when I first started in life insurance. Okay, I'm doing all right. But then he looked at everybody else that's still in the same line of business. It's the same leads. It's the same whatever, same scripts. And he starts to see them just, man, they're in the same business that I'm in, dude. Like, what's going on? Like, where they can start affording this. And then it really did turn back into like what we were just talking about, that self-accountability. Like, get pissed. I love that. That's going to have to be like, that should be like a whole podcast or something that we make. Get pissed off enough to make a change. Well, and speaking of change, I want to use the tail end of this show, TJ, and I'm curious because obviously you're a smart dude, right? You figured some things out, and you've done quite the 10 years of literally, like, you're about to be a sportscaster. We're going to have you back on to talk through some of that. I know Tony was involved in that stuff too when he was going through school and stuff before for insurance. But for market, like, how did dumpster roll off business? How the hell? I mean, you talk about details. Like, what details did you know? Because I'm not gonna lie, I don't know anybody that's like, oh fuck yeah, dude, we're gonna go find a lot of dumpster roll off business in Central Texas. Let's get it, right? And I know those bins ain't cheap. I know those trucks ain't cheap. You have put in quite the investment, I would assume, to get this thing up off the ground in 2025. What was it? I'm just curious, as like far as market analysis, how did y'all like decide that you were going to do this thing?
I think anytime you have an entrepreneurial spirit or a mind, you always think about, and this goes back to my father, and he was always talking about crazy product ideas, or how did someone make $1 million off of, a little piece of plastic or a rubber band and something right? Like, and so it was always funny to have those mental exercises with him, to talk about, how do people create life and wealth and value, and what are these ideas, and what ideas actually have traction and don't. And so I've got a good friend, Steve Hill. He's the CFO of our company. And then our other friend, Joby Evans, is the COO. Joby knows every single thing about it. If it runs, and it has wheels. Like, the guy knows every single vehicle, every truck. Like, he can listen to an engine and tell you what it is, like, and what car it was and what year make. Like, he's a savant with these things. And he's been actually in the demolition business for years. So he needs dumpsters. Right. And he just kind of got to a point where he was having trouble getting them. It was hell with their billing. The dumpsters were in terrible condition all the time. They couldn't get them picked up, so they couldn't flip the job. So it cost them more money to operate. He was having to go to the dump sometimes with his own stuff, and that he was having to pay himself, pay an employee to go sit in a dump for 2 or 3 hours plus travel. So that was costing them half a day. So Steve and I had been working on different business plans for a long time. We looked at getting into the housing rental market in some areas around here. we just couldn't get the ROI right. I mean, it was still way under where we wanted to be. We were going to have to mass scale that kind of stuff up. And I was very comfortable doing it. Obviously, with my background, I understand how these things work, and having crews to do repairs and management companies to handle the billing and all that. We looked at ice machines, those portable pad sites. I mean, but you don't talk about an investment. Boy, that's a hell of an investment to put a dang 10 by 20 block of concrete on the ground and stick something on it that makes ice, for God's sake. Like that was crazy. Now it was a cash cow, like eventually, but again, you got to own 6 or 10 of these dang things for that to happen. So more and more people we talked to, people needed dumpsters. They said they were having the same problem Joby was. They couldn't get them delivered. They couldn't get them picked up in time. It was costing them money. It was costing them time. Their clients were getting mad because they couldn't get them out of their yard or their site. And so we just decided, hey, there's a real need here. It's a simple process. We have 3 guys who have a really a good understanding of how all 3 aspects of this type of a business would work. And that's kind of where we went from there. And we spent 10 months meeting every Wednesday at 10 or 11 a.m. Sometimes it was for 45 minutes. Sometimes it was for 6 hours.
Right. And
we went through agreements, and we went through how we're going to hire people. We have a booklet. We're going to hire them. What do they need to do to get hired here? Boom. This is it. This is our booklet. Customers. What's the document you're going to sign for renting a dumpster? You can't put paint and asbestos and stuff like that in a dump bin that goes to the city landfill. What's going to happen if they do it? Right. How are we going to charge them? How are we going to handle it if they get mad about it? All the things. So you just put it in place. You don't know if it's going to work. You don't have any idea. And that's the whole do more now, get better later, right?
Yep.
Like, I mean, bringing that full circle to your guy, that is a phenomenal quote, because that's how business is. No one gets into it knowing how it works. You get into it because you are dedicated, because you're smart enough to be able to read and apply the things that you know, and you are pissed off about it, that you really do want to make a change in your life, and you don't want to suck at your job, and you want the people around you to look up to you, because that won't be forever, right? Eventually, all of our jobs is to kill our heroes. That's what we want to do, and replace them. And then it's our job for me to raise my sons to kill their father, in the not the literal sense.
Make sure you have life insurance, but yeah.
We do. I'm good. I got you guys. Next time I'll get you. That's what we want, right? We want our children to surpass us.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we want, whether they do it on their own accord or they get into the same business that we've gotten into. Ultimately, it's their path to walk, and it's our job to allow them to walk that path and support them when they do. Because I think, like a lot of y'all, I got that support to be my own person, and got a lot of support, even though when people were telling me you're a damn idiot, and they were right, I still did it, and they still love me. So
yeah, well, isn't it funny too? You talk about the student, becoming or surpassing the mentor. Like, I mean, I haven't been in production in quite a while, right? And I sold one policy in 2024 just because, but like my record, I think I'd done like 102 or 103,000 in a month, right? Was like my record. That's and awesome. Nobody had ever beat my record. And then what do you know? Amar comes through, puts through $500,000 account. And I'm like, well, there goes my record. Wow. Todd's doing like 114,000 in a month. And I'm like, dude, it took me fucking years to get there. And they're doing it in their first, year of being in business. But to your point, support that. You should be proud of that. I mean, I tell all my dude, if y'all are still, unless you absolutely want to be, if you're still producing, like just being a producer, which we'll just call it an employee for the lack of a better term. They're partners and everything, but as just a producing agent, you're not an actual business owner. You're not running your own agency. Like, dude, if you're still doing that for me 5 years from now, I've done you a disservice. Unless you absolutely want to stay internal and then maybe management or whatever. But like, dude, it's like, I want you to surpass me, man. That's the whole point of why I love to give back. It took me years to figure this shit out because I didn't have a Joe. To your point, like we didn't have a syndicate. We didn't have all these forums and again, masterminds and mentorship groups and all these things that now you can pay to play, right? And pay to get around these people. It was like, dude, best of luck, right? And now I see agents doing, and I know Tony can see because Tony been in freaking Medicare for 20 years. And now he gets to see like Gabu and Sophia like doing what they're doing in his agency. And he's like, damn, that took me years to freaking figure that out. But that's because they've got years of experience. So now that learning curve goes from this to, dude, almost damn near flat, right? And it's I just love seeing that because it's literally agents doing in 6 months what took me 3 to 4 years to figure out, I love that, man. I think, well, as we kind of start to wrap up, question for you, partnerships. What are your thoughts? Obviously, you have partners. I also love I think a lot of what when solutions are created or these ideas, some of the best ideas are created out of our own necessity. And then we realize there's a need. All right. Like Joby's like, oh shit, man. Like, okay, cool, man. And then turns out, oh crap, it's not just Joby, right? But what are your thoughts on partnerships? Some people say, don't ever partner up. And I'm thinking, dude, I don't know if I'd ever want to do this alone, right? I've never not had a partner, really, at least since been doing our own thing. What are your obviously you have partners. So what's your viewpoint on that and the power behind that?
Yeah, well, I think all of our partners, me and my other partners, we have the same spirit that you have. We want to succeed as a group, and ultimately the first thing we talked about doing this business about, not the actual roll off, but getting into business together was, hey, I wanted to launch a business that we can do together and make it work and sell it and then bring in more of our friends on another business. So that was really the baseline for why we got into business together as a group.
Okay.
Because we work well together. We've been going on this big guys golf trip I think I've been on it for a decade or 10 or 11 years now. It's 40 guys. We go away for 5 days. We play between 3 and 5 rounds of golf, depending on how much you want to do. We do a Ryder Cup style. So we have team captains and we literally just disappear for 5 days. It's the greatest thing that we do as men that I know. Everybody looks to it. Like it looks forward to this trip every year. So we kind of all met on that trip. I'd actually known Joby when we were younger here in Austin, but Steve is where I met him specifically. And Steve by nature is an inquisitive guy. He wants to know about you. He wants to know what you're up to, in a good way. Like he's a very, very good person. And we always call him Squirrel because he'll be doing something and then he'll be gone on to something else. And then he'll come back over here and he'll go work on this. And so my job and Joby's job is to, get the squirrel back into the tree that we're living in right now, right? Like keep him from jumping around. And that's almost a full-time job sometimes. But Steve is an idea person. And he goes and goes. And the last thing I want to do as his business partner is to stunt that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I don't have that. And I can't go buy that. And I can't trust it even if I do buy it. But I know with Steve, I can sit down and we can talk out all the things and the ideas that he has, right? And me and Joby, same way, right? We have to make decisions about these trucks, but when there's a decision, we don't put it off. Like he calls me when he gets to the site or on his way home from a drop, or hey, this happened, we need to figure out this. Hey, this is going on. Cool, great. These are details that add up and pile up, and you can't let those things sit there and fester, they'll go away. So knowing that you have people that you trust and that you can do it really makes it easy. So it doesn't even really feel like you're, losing or giving anything up. I think the hard part is people have been burned in partnerships before, whether it be financially losing their business, could have cost them some other relationship issues. I mean, I can see that. There's plenty of horror stories around about that. I can see where people would be hesitant to do it. I think that you should be hesitant as well. That's where your partnership agreement is very important. Anytime you get into business with someone, make sure you have your own lawyer that you trust review a partnership agreement. That's the best advice you'll ever get. But I just think that if you're grounded properly in your beliefs, who you are, knowing what you bring to the table and to the conversation, and staying in your role within your business is how you can ensure you're not the problem should there be a problem. Should there be something happen in a partnership that you're not the one that's causing the drama or you're not doing these things. And that comes from just accountability. I think things like this are very helpful for people who may, like me, who are passionate competitive, and I don't always say the first thing out of my mouth that comes out of my mind, and that is a very good thing that I did not always have. It has been years of work.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's that's a tough one. Well, again, especially even just let's just take away even the partnership, even just being a business owner, right? And dealing with and just dealing with problems and dealing with days.
Having a spouse.
Yeah. No, no comment, Maria. I didn't say nothing there. Okay. But again, I love that you said that too, because putting those things off, even and sometimes it's problems. It's been a long day, man. Last thing I want to do is spend another hour or two dealing with this. And then what do you know? A week goes by, and now that thing has blown up to even bigger than what it was, when instead we could just nip it in the bud right there, right? I love that, man. Tony, anything parting for us here before we wrap up the show?
Man, my biggest takeaway that I love, because it ties back to something that we did in our Monday morning meeting, and he said it perfectly. This is something my grandmother used to always say to me, was that an idle mind is the devil's workshop. That was exactly what she would tell me. You have to keep yourself occupied, Tony Merwin, because if you don't, right, the influencer is going to get in there and he's going to mess with you and he's going to help you make bad decisions, right? So instead of doing something like playing sports, right, and being active in that baseball game and that camaraderie and that team and that group of guys, the idle mind is over here behind the shed smoking a joint, doing whatever, as a 16-year-old kid, screwing off, stealing cassette tapes out of the music store, sound waves, and all that kind of stuff. Like doing dumb shit. I was that kid too. So my grandmother was always harping on that. So for me, that's one of my biggest takeaways. And to take it back to our Monday morning meeting with that Tony Robbins video that we were looking at, he said the same thing, but he said it a little differently. And I like this. He said, prime your mind, or it will be primed by the environment that you put yourself into, right? Either you take time to prime your mind by reading good things, keeping yourself productive, keeping yourself focused, keeping yourself centered, right? Or you're going to have the idle mind that becomes the devil's workshop, and it's going to get primed by outside influences. And I'll take it one more step further, because this is where true accountability comes in. Learn to govern yourself, or you will be governed. And we see that every day in constant evidence of people that do not know how to govern themselves. What happens? Well, they will be governed. And that's true. And I think as a collective group in this nation, not to take this in a different direction, but that is something that we collectively are struggling with. And if we don't get a handle on it as a population, it's going to be a big problem, and we will be governed. And you never like the way that you're governed. Like, it's never a good thing. So prime your mind, keep it busy, and don't let yourself be governed. Go govern yourself.
It's funny. You talk about squirrel, TJ. When you said that, I'm like, man, I remember my moped, dude. And it had that damn governor on it, man. And it's like, I could only go like 28, but man, you take that governor off, we're going 45, baby. I can hit the highway now almost. Like,
yeah. That's funny.
So, man, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day, running 4 hustles over there to spend some time with us and drop a little value and talk about accountability and keeping that mind primed and keeping that mind on task in the details as you should. So
yes, sir. It's my pleasure, Joe. Tony, thank you guys very much. You guys are doing great over here. Y'all keep crushing it every Wednesday. And, to all your agents out there watching, like, pay attention to these guys, see what they do. Like, imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. So you fake it till you make it, do all the things, but get your butt up, make your bed, brush your teeth, get your ass to work.
Let's go. Absolutely, man. I appreciate you. Merwin,
thank you guys for tuning in. We're here every Wednesday, and we'll see you next Wednesday, 9 a.m. sharp for Winning on Wednesday.
Do more now. Get better later. See you guys.